Coming back to the question, what did grow becoming the number one stockbroker? Did it put any pressure on the biggest guy who was there for some time?
I don't look up to any businesses out there, anywhere in the world as a role model or anything to look up to. But I do look at quality engineering.
Some people look at me as their role models, but I know they're going to be disappointed if they spend enough time with me. Everyone's got imperfections. Everyone had this whole cut, copy, paste way of thinking how business. Now you need to do a seed at this valuation, you need to do a Series A at this.
One thing, if you could change about Zerodha's journey.
That's the fundamental nature of a journey, right? It's not scripted. It's all serendipity, random coincidences, luck, etc. So nothing.
I think social media serves many purposes. And one of the ways I'm presume it would do for you is also help your role model, right?
And yet social media somehow has deluded people into thinking that you can be in the world's downscared.
See, the thing is, while I say it's for the business, problem in social media is, all these likes, retweets, whatever, it gives you dopamine hits. There is no doubt about it.
And then he tweets about his six-pack.
Who do you benchmark against? Who are some of the people or tech platforms you look up to? And how do you benchmark yourself? And coming back to the question, what did grow becoming the number one stockbroker? Did it put any pressure on the biggest guy who was there for some time?
The way I look at, let's say, technology products, I don't look up to any businesses out there, anywhere in the world as a role model or anything to look up to. But I do look at quality engineering and quality products. And in the free and open source software world, there are n number of extremely well-engineered, well-built technologies that people have been building for decades. These are technologies that nobody really sees, but they power the entire world. I mean, Zerodha is entirely built on free and open source
Name
software.
some of them, Kailash.
I mean, so many. So Postgres as a database, it has been around for 25.
Which one?
Postgres.
Okay.
It's just a very widely used open source database, started by an enthusiast, born out of a university, 25 years old. There's so many. Every single thing that we do in software today is built on free and open source software. So there are many high quality products that people have managed to build and improve consistently over decades that all of us use. Everybody who's building technology uses them. So I look up to those particular feats of engineering and the commitment that the engineers and the product designers, people have put into them, into maintaining them and making them widely, globally useful, right? So this entire internet world, internet era, all this smartphone stuff that we enjoy, pretty much everything runs on high quality open source software. And some of these extremely critical technologies that are used by the entire world are maintained by a tiny team of hobbyists sitting somewhere. So that's my benchmark. I don't have any businesses or anything out there as a benchmark. And I don't really have personal role models either in that sense. And I look up to as you know, if you have a role model, you are very likely to be disappointed by something about them. So I look at meaningful, isolated traits in people. Oh, this person is really good at this. So I look at that, but not really, this person as a whole. And that's a personal philosophy, apart from him. Like he's amazing as a whole.
Nithin, you want to add? Totally aligned, huh?
No, we are aligned. I used to, think of my heroes in a certain way. Thanks to the success of Zerodha, I ended up getting to an opportunity to meet a lot of people. It's very hard. I know that, some people look at me as their role models, but I know they're going to be disappointed if they spend enough time with me. It's impossible, right? I know there is, everyone's got imperfections, and when you keep someone as a role model, the problem is I think we all always concentrate on those few traits, and then we think that's how this person is outside that as well, right? It's very hard. As a business, I think the ones I really admire actually are boutique businesses, boutique, these restaurants, right? That one mind-blowing restaurant that will treat you well, give you good food,
And they're committed to that one thing.
One restaurant, because it's very hard to scale it. This
Got it.
quality, etc. I mean, I use Swiggy, I use Uber, Ola, I use Audible. I mean, I use these products and enjoy it, but it's just so. It's so commercial in terms of those push notifications. I log into one of these apps. It says, and I want to buy something else. It's saying buy this. I'm like, otherwise I would have allowed if a company just let me be on my own.
Yeah.
Because some of these apps have solved for real life problems, right?
Right.
So I mean, that way I admire the problem they're solving. But this whole always trying to max the value out of me is. Which kind of brings it down. But I think Patagonia is like one of those companies that stands out. And
what stands out about Patagonia for you?
No, I have read everything Valuation has written. I think just philosophically, I think it's very similar to how we think about Zerodha. And I think one of the reasons Valuation didn't go list Patagonia is because of a realization that it's impossible to run that business if you have investor obligation to grow at a certain speed, right? The fact that if you bought a jacket, an expensive jacket, and you go to Patagonia, they will fix it for you. They'll not say buy another jacket, right? Just to be able to have that philosophy is very unique in today's world, and to have scaled it to that level and etc. is, and also I think this whole question of growth at what cost, right?
In fact, the entire construct of our sort of consumption, right? Constantly upgrading. There's an upgrade on phone every year.
Yeah.
And by design, after some time, you're not able to use your phone, right?
Yeah.
The entire hardware sort of goes waste.
Yeah.
And we're creating so much of electronic waste, we don't know what we are going to do with it.
No, but without that, there would be no $2-3 trillion company behind it.
That's the thing.
Not economy, one company.
Yeah.
One more question on Zerodha, because I want to switch track and just sort of talk a bit about your other sort of personal stuff. So what's the next phase for Zerodha for you?
On board with what Nithin was saying, the purpose of Zerodha today is to help people do better with their money. And that's our overall goal, and to sustain for as long as possible. But I think, like he said, the eventual goals, philosophies have evolved over the last decade plus. I think for me personally, it has been a little different. So I got into this whole thing, finance, etc., for the joy of tinkering. And in the initial years, we were also involved in building. It was hard. Building things, breaking things, fixing things, learning, discovering, etc. It was that phase. That was phase one at Zerodha. But at some point, I think late 2010s, we started becoming successful. And there were no metrics, like you said. So it was just, we'd come to the office, brainstorm, build, learn, experiment. And then as we started becoming financially successful, it didn't happen in day one. There was this massive black swan event that happened post-COVID, but 3 years prior to that, we started becoming financially successful. And then I started having doubts. And we've spoken about this. In fact, I've given him humongous amounts of heartache over some of these unresolved questions. So personally, I'd gotten into this for the joy of building, and of course, making a decent living. No question about that. Being, not having to worry about finances. But that's a side, whatever. If you are successful at what you do, that will automatically happen. But 90% of it was just, being in it, building. But when financial success came and the stakes at which we were operating changed, the risks changed, everything changed, then I had this period of a few years where there was a lot of self-doubt. I mean, what have I gotten into? Because I didn't sign up to create like a massive organization which is extremely financially successful. And you never
So financial success was creating self-doubt? I just want to understand.
Yeah. It was because you end up creating, let's say, an entity which is powerful, which is very financially resourceful. You never know with what direction it takes, right? Anything could have happened, We could have changed. The people inside Zerodha, our views could have changed. And for me, that was a lot of pressure. To figure out, I didn't sign up for creating something so big that could go in either direction, which could do largely good or bad or whatever. And
You meant the wealth could have a corrupting
Yes.
impact either on Zerodha or you or on the team,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
So for me, this was a huge deal. And like I said, I've given him so much heartache over this for many
Let's
years.
go over it, Nithin. And I know that you come from a different direction on wealth. A bit about your evolution of the journey, right? With wealth, what it means, and what it means to be successful financially, and the pressure it builds, right? Or it must build on you as a successful entrepreneur. The purpose of wealth
Right.
and the chase. Let's talk a bit about that. Go ahead.
So I think for me personally, and I guess that ties into this question also, these questions, these unresolved questions as to what am I doing? This is not what I really...
This was which year? 2020?
No, this was 2017, 18, 19. That's when we started seeing success.
Okay.
And I was very afraid of, success in not in the sense of products, technology. I mean, that is very satisfying, but success in the terms of, financial success accumulating. And it was very uncomfortable as to, what does this really mean? So I think it eventually started resolving so we set up Rainmatter Foundation in 2020. And
you put pressure? You had a role to play. Tell us about
No,
it.
I mean,
Not pressure, it
it's
was-
not pressure,
yeah.
but it's his questions of asking, success brings obligation.
Yeah.
Right? As
And
in-
does that first conversation come as a surprise to you that somebody's feeling guilty?
No, it's not. I mean, no, because
Yeah.
this is how we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
we've been talking that concentration of wealth is one of the biggest problems on this planet.
When
Now,
did you begin to sort of wake up to that problem?
that is no. I mean, I think 2016, 17, as we
Yeah.
started getting richer.
Okay.
I mean, materially. That's this whole. It started feeling like kind of it's unfair that once you make X amount of money, it's so much more easier to make more money, right? So, and like I think, like I personally think there has to be an inheritance tax. I mean, it is it may not be. Because the problem is, generationally now people can sit squat on this wealth, and everyone in that generation can benefit out of it, right? As in, I think every time money changes hands, there should be an inheritance tax. I mean, all the rich folks will hate me for saying something like this, but if you think about it, otherwise, it's a smart thing to do because this inequality in wealth, I think eventually will end with a civil war or something like that. It cannot be that few people keep getting richer and richer and richer. I mean, historically. And I've been just rereading this Ray Dalio book, and he talks about history of the planet, right? And every time there's inequality, there is some kind of a civil war. So I think proactively humankind should do something. I mean, I think people, wherever there's concentration of wealth, I think you need to use that to help the society in some way. And that, maybe he triggered those conversations, but that realization happened quite early. When I say early, like 2017, 18, etc.
it was very natural. It wasn't one day, countless conversations, a lot of heartache. And
Just the two of you, or
No, I mean, Nikhil also
yeah,
came
many
in.
of us.
everybody.
Yeah.
Actually, many of us at Zerodha.
At Zerodha, right?
These are all open conversations.
And yeah, so I think setting the foundation, I probably give 5 to 10% of my time to the foundation. I give more time to Rainmatter, the fintech, health, etc. Because even that, right, in our head, it's a way to give forward, right? As in all these investments that we're making. Not once have we ever gone to any of the startups. We have invested in almost 100 startups today. Have gone and said, oh, where is my return on capital, etc. We have structured it as a perennial fund, which means we are invested forever, right? And we're just, every time we go meet any of these guys, we're like, are you helping people do better with money? Are you helping people do better with health? Are you helping, the planet in some way? Right? I mean, that's our chase, right? As in, because I think, some of these large problems on the planet, can be solved by for-profit sectors. And there are also those which have to be solved by social sector, like solve it in a small way and then show it to the government and say, you know what, I have solved it in this small little way. Is there a way you can go? At the end of the day, government has to change, right? To create any kind of impact on the society. And so we are committed there as well. Now looking back after 3 years of the foundation, I think it's one of the best things that we've done, in our journey, because the little time that we spend on Rainmatter, both on the foundation and personally for me, adds a lot more meaning on the rest of the time I have. Otherwise, I had a question, right? Why am I getting up every day and doing what I'm doing? Right?
Same.
What about you, Kailash?
Same. So these questions that I had, like, what am I doing? I mean, what's the point of all this stuff that is accumulating? And I never signed up for that. That started resolving when we're all aligned to envision Zerodha as something. I mean, it happened to be successful, coincidence, insane amounts of hard work, and unexpected, right? So then we, over many years, we decided and said that all the success that happens at Zerodha, financial and material success, we'll use that for creating good around us, and not really keep accumulating it personally for whatever goals. So once, and we're all practically aligned on that, but we didn't really have a means, and I had so many doubts and questions. But then we set up Rainmatter Foundation, then we started actively doing this. We made those commitments and we started seeing the needle move a little bit, right? So those questions really resolved in my head over the last, 3+ years. That, okay, there's a purpose to this. It's financial stuff, capital markets, engineering here, the work that we do increases material success. What for? It goes back to all of these things.
Do you want to talk a bit about Rainmatter Foundation and what Samir is sort of doing there and the journey so far? And what would success there feel like to both of you?
I don't know, maybe Kay, you can.
So, Rainmatter Foundation has a singular goal but a broad agenda, the thesis, which is to work on climate change. And climate change is not a one-dimensional problem. It's not a carbon problem. It's not a temperature problem. It's everything. How we live, how we create, consume, produce, GDP, economy, how we treat biodiversity, absolutely everything, right? Energy, food, water, soil, absolutely everything is connected to climate change. So Rainmatter Foundation's goal is to obviously mitigate climate change, but it's not like this. Everything everywhere has to change. And like I said, it will change because we will all be forced to change. The entire world will have to change the way it exists. So the foundation does work there, trying to connect these dots, we support organizations who work in these areas, for-profit and non-profit. We're trying to build that entrepreneurial ecosystem of people who will do production the less wrong way. We're supporting civil society organizations who are working on, restoration of, natural resources. It's all of those things. And Samir has done a great job building that small team, etc. But Rainmatter Foundation is just, it's a key pillar to all of this. But I was referring to not just the foundation, but a decision, a collective conscious decision to say that this is really the overarching philosophical goal of Zerodha. The concrete goal of Zerodha as an institution is to do what we do best and help people do better with their money. Mm-hmm. But the outcome from that we generate, where does that go? I mean, it goes into this, creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem. He spends a lot of time with Rainmatter Capital, startups, investments, etc., looking for the right kind of startups. So I think that resolved a lot of questions. So we've had those conversations, supporting community, public commons. So we're doing all of that. So we're using the material success that comes out of Zerodha to back good things that are genuinely useful to society with no expectations of return. So to answer your question about what would Rainmatter Foundation's outcome look like, I think it's very hard to measure. You can't measure climate change or its impact in that sense, right? And we are not really looking for concrete goals either. This is a civilizational, multi-decade, maybe a century-long problem. So our goal is to move the needle a tiny little bit wherever we can when it comes to this. So that's how we look at Rainmatter Foundation.
Any of these things that you both are sort of looking at, or Zerodha is looking at, being based in Bangalore, and the ecosystem here, the kind of people that you have in the ecosystem, right from Azim Premji, who just gave away an audacious thing back in 2001, right, long back. What difference does it make to be located in a city like this with some of the people that you can sort of look at?
Yeah, no, I think Bangalore has got that vibe from before. Like, I was asking Nandan Nilekani recently, why did Infosys start in Bangalore? And he was giving the history of ISC in Bangalore and how, you had technologies from before, right? As in, Bangalore was meant to have Infosys. He said, they couldn't have started Infosys anywhere else. So I think this whole laid back.
It isn't laid back anymore. This is the hustle city.
It's changed, but see, I think one of the reasons we are very vocal about what we're doing through foundation, etc., is because I think we want to be nudging folks, right? As in, we want to be this generation's Azim Premjis and putting it out there, saying, or even the Neil Kinneys, etc. Like, we need today's generation of folks doing this,
Correct.
right? To be able to peer pressure or nudge, some of our peers who've seen large financial success to question, some of the things. I think being in Bangalore has made because I've seen the issue with some of the other larger cities in Bangalore is that there's always this constant chase of wanting to do more, like, because you're always benchmarking yourself in terms of evaluations or in terms of how much money in the bank. It's lesser. I mean, it's changed, but it's lesser in Bangalore compared to other cities, and we don't want that vibe to go away from Bangalore. So right, we want folks, people getting successful in Bangalore to use their success in some way. And I think the other thing, another angle, another way I frame this when I meet other founders is to say that eventually there's also the right thing for you to do for your business, because eventually questions will be asked wherever there is concentration of wealth, as in, did you use your wealth in some way for the betterment of society, right? And you as a brand can stand out on that day. I don't know when it'll happen. It'll happen 5 years from now, 10 years, 20 years, right?
Your counsel gets traction? I'm just curious.
No, I mean, I don't, see, the thing is, I think the big problem in today's world is everyone's thinking very short term, right? But if you think about it long enough, if you say, if you think about over the next 20, 30 years, will brands which are using their success for the society be able to stand out?
Correct.
I think it's a no-brainer. Will it happen in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Maybe not. Right? But if you're always prioritizing what's right for the next 1 to 3 years, it'll be hard. Now, whenever this happens, can you suddenly change your brand to be this? It's impossible. Like, can you suddenly go from this cold brand who will, win at all costs to saying, you know what, I've suddenly changed into being this climate conscious brand? Or like a brand that cares about the society. It's going to be very hard. I think you need to start working on it today. So
I want to come to this question from a very different sort of direction. So social media, and I think social media serves many purpose. And one of the ways I'm presumed it would do for you is also help you role model, right? A certain way of behavior that you think what you would want to sort of demonstrate. And I know both of you come from very different lenses. Kailash is almost non-existent on social media. So let's just first start with how both of you look at social media. What is good, what is not, and why you have had very distinct and different strategy on your presence to it. And Kailash, you want to sort of go first?
I have no social media presence. I have a LinkedIn account where I maybe share links to my blog post couple of times a year. That's about it. So I'm not hooked onto social media. I don't consume social media.
You're not even passively looking at things?
No, I don't log into any social media.
Okay.
But somebody shares a link on one of our groups, I click and I read. But apart from that, I don't look at social media.
Why?
I think it was a very early decision. I signed up on Twitter in 2008, I think. So because I was living on the internet, I could see how these platforms evolved. Facebook started out as a university network, and the day it shifted to a public network, I really saw the change. This was late 2000s. And I decided to not be on social media way back then. And I just had a sense that it would do more harm than good. Social media has done a lot of good. It's amplified a lot of voices that would never have been amplified either. But if you look at the last 5+ years globally, you'd see that social media is really the root cause of a lot of problems. And the damage it does to society as a whole outweighs the good it does exponentially. So you have to look at the trade-off. Social media does good, but social media also does insane amounts
Can
of
you
bad.
mention two of them, that negative side of social media that you see is most glaring for you?
I mean, so large social media, centralized social media platforms, which is the whole of the social media bubble. It's all the activity there is driven by incentives of financial, let's say, advertising revenue or whatever, or increasing engagement for the companies who run them. And this is very well studied and understood and
Correct.
very well talked about, right? So stuff that gets amplified, content that gets amplified on social media becomes viral. It's not really based on its quality or its merit to society. It's based on whatever the algorithms do, and the algorithms decide, or what the social media company decides to amplify to drive revenue. It's that simple. So social media is not a natural entity where good conversations naturally spread. It is entirely algorithmic, and the algorithms have a clear incentive to drive more eyeballs. So just that one thing will tell you what sort of content gets amplified, right? So
Sure.
stuff that appeals to the worst of humanity, disinformation, misinformation, peddling. So whatever drives eyeballs, these things automatically optimize for that.
Got it.
And this whole thing about being the world's town square, I completely disagree with that concept, because a human being is not built out to chat with tens of thousands of people. A human being is not, we don't have the cognitive capacity to consume information from tens of thousands of people that we follow, or hundreds of people. Human beings have, that's not how relationships work, that's not how communication works, that's not how group dynamics work, right? And yet social media somehow has deluded people into thinking that you can be in the world's town square speaking to tens of thousands of millions of people. That's just fundamentally incompatible with our, with our brains, how we work. So it's a flawed concept, and we've seen how social media has even started interfering with democracies. Even the last US election and social media's involvement in it was a global talking point, right? That's when regulators, etc., suddenly woke up. So, of course, I didn't foresee or predict any of this, let's say 13 or 15 years ago, but I just had the sense that from using simple common sense, that this whole global town square where everyone speaks to everyone else, it just can't work.
We look at Twitter, what people are talking, some people who we want to follow, sane voices, etc. So what about you? How do you sort of form your worldview?
It's tricky, because what you consume, how do you even know that? With so much information and content that's being produced by professionals, by amateurs, by everyone across different kinds of social media, millions, if not billions of things, content, bits of content that's being produced. How do you, as a human being, decide what to consume, right? And if you open a social media platform where stuff is being constantly bombarded, I don't think it's shaping your worldview the right way. So I don't think there's a right way to shape your worldview. You really have to exercise your critical thinking, common sense. You have to have a decent context of history to judge today's human behavior, because it's all really happened in the past. And then you pick and choose and then stick to that. So I read regional news, I read national news, a little bit of global news from news websites. I frequent very particular small little, let's say, tech forums. And I'm limited to that. I'm not listening to dozens of podcasts. I don't think I've listened to a podcast in a long time. I listen to audiobooks. I read books that I prefer reading. And I think I'm reasonably well informed of what's happening around in the world. But if you open social media, the stuff happening every single second of the day, the stuff happening in every country, important events, how can a single human being make sense of any of this? So I think there's a big misunderstanding, collective misunderstanding, that constant consumption of information keep us well informed. I think it just really ruins our brain in itself, messes with our attention, messes with our ability to consume information properly, process it properly. There's no time to process. It's just non-stop. So I think being off on social media and just sticking to calmer content will help you be informed better, and it's literally good for your brain.
Nithin, what about you? How do you look at social media and your presence there? And we'll talk a little bit about diving into specifics as well.
Yeah, so in 2011, we got this first feature on Times in Economic Times. They spoke about discount broking, and they said, "Oh, here's Zerodha doing it from Bangalore," and our business went like 3x immediately. I mean, this was a small base. We were
Yeah.
opening some 200, 300 accounts a month. We started opening like 500, 600 accounts. And for me, the realization was, there's a lot of power in the press. And so we hired a PR agency, and I started doing India Darshan, like go meet journalists, like one city to the other. Then we realized journalists didn't want to catch up with you, like without a reason. So, and also at that point of time, we were trying to, see, the big problem in the business of money for most startups is credibility, right? As in credibility, right? How do you get, see, the thing is, we are almost like a bank. So today, customers keep their money and securities with us. So you need to build that trust, right? And that's very hard, right? I mean, and especially harder, back then when we were saying we are much lower cost than everyone else, because people associate low cost with bad quality and scam and etc., right? So we also started setting up offices in different parts of the country, like partner offices. And we used to use every partner office launch as an opportunity to do PR in that city. And it was working. So I used to spend at least 2-3 hours a day talking with journalists, I think, for like at least 5 years straight. And I think around 2017, 18 is when we started seeing the waning power of the press, the traditional media, right? As in, people had, I think there was when people were transitioning from reading physical paper to maybe consuming on social media, right? So I was actually a very late entrant to I think my Twitter, I actually went live only in 2019. LinkedIn, I used to randomly share stuff in 2018, etc. I think actively I started posting in 2019 because I think the realization was that you have to be in control. I'm a storyteller in a way, right? And
for the brand,
for the company, right? As a CEO, my job is that I need to put the word out there. And I realized then that maybe I was very late to realize. I should have probably realized this earlier, that we need to be in control of the narrative, right? Because a lot of times, so spend a lot of so many hours talking to a journalist, and then the journalist write an article, and I'm like, what is this? I mean, this is not what I said, right? It took so much effort. So I think we were blogging as Zerodha right from day one, but 2018-19 is when I realized that we need to do this. I don't consume any content on social media. In the sense, I am mostly fire and forget because.
So you don't engage much. It's
never. I mean, you will never see me respond to a person and say, "You're wrong," or right? And because I know it's a rabbit hole you don't want to get into, right? As in, I don't even look what someone comments. If there's there is a team in the office that looks at all our feeds. And
so tell us a bit about that. The frequency, the filters. And before you put out, and what are some of the do's and don'ts that you've learned over the years?
I mean, the thing is, while I say it's for the business, the problem in social media is, all these likes, retweets, whatever, it gives you dopamine hits. There is no doubt about it. So a lot of times the question, am I in it? Do I give a business as an excuse to actually be posting stuff, right? Right? Because it is, I mean, at the end of the day, you like it. I mean, something I said got so much likes. Now the problem is you have automatically benchmarked. The next thing you say, anything lesser than that feels like it's not a successful post.
Does it work? Does it work like that for you?
I mean, not for me. I mean, everyone. If someone's saying no, I mean, he's faking it. Or he or she, right? That's how humans are. I mean, someone has to be Guruji types, to not get affected by this.
You had to fight that?
Instincts, absolutely. It is I've realized that every time I'm on a holiday, I tend to be saying more because I'm already feeling a little guilty that I'm on holiday and not working. So I tend, if you see frequency of my posts are higher, you'll know that I'm probably on a holiday around that time.
Okay.
So in office, there are 2 folks who have complete control. So I usually, when I have to say something, I draft it on a Google Doc. I sleep over it for a bit. And then I share it with and I question all of this. Oh, am I doing it for dopamine? Am I doing it for real reason, etc.?
And then he tweets about his 6-packs. So clearly that's working, that strategy.
Yeah, that day I did it on a tequila, by the way.
On his birthday, he's allowed, huh?
No, we were all together, So, we were all together in my house, and I had this photo from the morning.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, this is gonna be Wayne. I'm posting this, But then one tequila down, and then we're like,
You posted it, and you didn't have those two people filtering it.
That day, the thing is, this debate was running through the day, right? As in, we were like, the thing is, see, the problem is this, right? In social media, if you want to, if once you get into this optimizing for the outcome, which is you're trying to build a personality certain way on social media, then you're all your choices are based on that, right? As in, you want to be showing some personal side of yourself, right? If you're just saying business,
No traction.
no one cares about it. After a while, you become a boring feed. Now, you want your feed to be interesting, right? So you have to show some personal side of yours once in a while, right? Otherwise, I'm also I'm thinking, why would I care about? I'm thinking, if Malini is my user, she's looking at my feed. I have to say something which is apart from just what broking business is, what entrepreneurship is, right? If I am Economic Times of today, I'm a magazine. I need to be putting interesting stuff out there, which is not fixated only on one small little thing. I need to have a diverse set of views. That's a problem. The problem is that I am optimizing these choices for a certain type of reach and this thing, right? And
algorithmic outcome.
But I also see, Nithin, that through your posts, there are times that you're taking a stand, contrarian stand, many a times deliberately so.
It's not deliberate. It's not contrarian. It's actually how we think.
Correct. Right. I'm saying that it contrarian to us, in the sense, I can see that you have taken a stand which is very distinct from somebody else and holding your point of view in public. I see it as certain kind of role modeling. Like bootstrapping is good, and you talk about that, right? Especially at a time when everybody's raising funds, everybody's raising, and you want to talk about it because you think that's the sane way to look at things. Talk a bit about that. What are some of the areas that you think you felt or compelled to talk about it?
No, see, the thing is, I think the problem in the ecosystem, in the startup ecosystem, it's changed quite a bit in the last 1 year, thanks to the funding winter. But everyone had this whole cut, copy, paste way of thinking how business. You need to do a seed at this valuation. You need to do Series A at this. You need, this after that. You need to have your whatever. I mean, it doesn't work like that, right? As in, so we thought there is someone should go talk about a business that was done in a different way, right? So I think there's an obligation, like I said, right? The success of the business also brings an obligation to put to the world that, there is another way to build a business as well, right? So a lot of this, the way we think about a business, whatever we've spoken might sound contrarian, but it's not like we are wanting to be contrarian. It's just how we think about life, right? And so I think people need to know that. So that's why we post. Also, there's like a lot of times, what we are doing through the foundation or through our startups is something I share. Because I think wherever there is success, I think people need to do more to help the ecosystem itself or the society. So I think in a way we are nudging some of our peers by doing that. The personal side, why do I say it? Just another angle to the feed, right?
It's part of compelling storytelling, isn't it?
It's more storytelling. He's a human types. It's just not a bot who's just constantly giving gyan, right? As in, I care about health and fitness. I mean, at the end of the day,
why don't you talk a bit about that? That's probably the last segment before we dive into the rapid fire sort of questions. Talk a bit about your journey with fitness, right? And I know that you nudge your own employees with incentives to do that. Your own personal fitness regimen and what works for you and what works for you, and some do's and don'ts that you've learned, and as an employer as well.
I mean, see, the thing is, I've always played a sport in my life, from when I'm young, right? As in, for me, it's always been like a way to vent out, release, all the stress built over, like a good game of basketball, a good game of football.
You still do?
I still do, whenever there's an
irrespective of.
Yeah, I mean, like last Saturday, a bunch of us went played badminton for 2-3 hours. It doesn't matter what sport. I play a bunch of sports, running, swimming. It's just, it's just sweating it out. Is a way for me to, just have some normalcy in my life. So I think what I didn't care about enough before was nutrition, right? I used to binge drink, I used to binge eat, I used to do all of that. But over the last 2-3 years, I think I realized that, as I got into my 40s, that recovery takes time, right? And I started reading about, nutrition, health, etc. And like, there are times, when I was younger, I could drink the whole night and play basketball next day morning. But today, if I drink more than 3 drinks, it takes me like 10 days to recover. In a sense, so I know that something has changed within the body, and it's just age, right? As in, as you grow older, your body doesn't have the capacity to recover fast. And I think the way I used to think about health has also changed. Today, for me, it's become more about, I think, with all the medical progress, we all will live for much longer than we did before. And I'm thinking more about my quality of my life for the last 10, 20 years of my life. Life is a marathon, and I want to finish it strong, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, that's my philosophy around this, right? So I want to do, because otherwise, again, this is like business, right? You have the short-term goals of, I want to look a certain way. You end up compromising on a bunch of things which may not be good for you in the long run. Now, all my choices are, is this going to help me in the long run, right? So a lot of questions about what goes into my body, which is where I think I started looking fitter because of that. I mean, as long as I kept thinking, I want to get a six-pack, I would never get in, 1 week of like stupid dieting, and then one day I'll binge eat, right? Now, just this moderation, like what K does, right? I mean, I'm moderated completely. I mean, when I was younger, I still remember I would do a mutton biryani with half grilled chicken in one sitting. That's probably like 3,000 calories, right? As in, I could diet whatever for 10 days, and I do 2 days of this, it's undone everything else, right? So yeah, so today, I mean, I think...
What about Kailash?
I'm not a fitness freak like him. I really don't like working out in the gym for the sake of working out, but eat in moderation. I don't drink or smoke, or I've never done. So don't eat garbage food or minimize garbage food. Eat moderately, eat decent food, walk. I've started doing yoga also. So just basic exercises, keep yourself active. That's all when it comes to physical, but mental health is something that I've struggled with.
You do meditation?
Doesn't work. I mean, so I have a anxious mind. I'm anxious about so many things. I'm anxious about climate change. I'm anxious about our bad traffic and bad roads and climate change and all the stuff, anxious about pretty much everything. And thankfully, I'm in a much, much, much better place today. And he could attest to that because I don't really give him heartache as much as I used to. But that has been a struggle. But I've been able to understand it painstakingly over a period of time and get my own anxiety, mental health, etc. under control. Again, I guess in the last 3-4 years, it has been a very, very difficult journey. Physically, like he said, I mean, I'm lucky that I'm genetically a certain way. So physically, I've always been okay, and I just do basic physical stuff.
I mean, he'll eat as much, it'll not show up anywhere, So he's like, the first day he came to the gym, he did a squat, and the coach was like, are you serious? Because, a squat, like a proper squat, it takes hard work, not everyone gets it, and he could just do it, and like, no, that's not fair, like, you can't be like genetically blessed in so many things in your life. No, but I think, him, actually, it's kind of seeped through the org. I think we eat very little processed food. Like, I've hardly seen him eat processed food. I mean, anything that comes in a pack, avoid it. As in, just that, I think can do so much for your health than everything else.
So I belong to Kailash's category. So I've been doing yoga for now 20 plus years. And I hate gyms. Last year, I sort of took a break and started going, but somehow I've regressed back, or I've gone back to yoga. I do meditation, and that is enormously helpful. I want to sort of share a little tip on calming the mind, which I've learned. Conscious eating is something I do very, very deliberately. I think that is, I finish my dinner before 7 every day, and very light dinner, and and I'm over 50. So it has helped me enormously in managing my health. On anxiety and mental sort of stress that we deal with, one of the most best way I have learned to deal with, one is meditation. But sometimes when you are very mentally very, very stressed, meditation doesn't work. I do two things which has helped me enormously. One is walk. Just get out. If you have a park, just go to a park and walk. 100% of the time, it has calmed me. I'm a better person when I returned than before I went. And second is cycling. So anything that is physically engaging and I can take my mind off it works a lot. And in this city, I try and do that a lot. In Delhi, I was not able to, but these two things have helped.
Yeah, no, for me, sport does it. Like I just go, like play a sport, and it's very hard to think about. Like the issue for me with walking, cycling, or swimming is that I'm still thinking. Like it's very, for me, it becomes hard to like let go of that anxiety. But when you play a sport, it's very hard. It's probably, in cricket, you can stand in one place and still think. But I'm saying, like, you play like an active sport, like, where you have to constantly move, it becomes, you have that, like, a break to just reset and, come back and think about it.
You just offended all the cricket fans.
No, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm saying for, like, if you want to kind of...
Yeah, but with sports, there is another layer of complexity in the sense you need to find a partner at the time that you need, like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, you don't get a partner. And of course, you need to be in a location with
access to
or whatever, the field. So some of those constraints, of course,
that's really, like one of the big ideas with Rainmatter Health. Like we are trying to support folks who can make this happen, which is, and to add to complexity, you need people with similar skills.
Right. I mean, at 50 plus, I can't be playing with you guys. And sort of, totally, absolutely.
Yeah.
So why don't we kind of bring this to a wrap, and I'm going to do some rapid fire questions. So, first 4-5 questions I'm going to ask you to answer for him and him to answer for you. And then we'll kind of ask you, what blows Nithin's fuse, Kailash?
Very little. I think he's got the strongest fuse I've ever seen, ever. As I said in the beginning, he's extremely patient. I think he's probably the most stoic person I've seen.
What about Kailash, Nithin?
Everything.
Not anymore.
No, I'm saying anything, any...
Traffic noise.
Oh my God.
Traffic
I can't stand
noise.
it. Yeah.
Honking, plastic bottles, someone throwing, not segregating garbage. Like I said, a lot of things. Like, but anything which is anyone not being conscious of sorts.
Right. Nithin's guilty pleasures.
Eating. He loves eating. He loves food so much he can't stop. He'll start and he'll just keep going, and inhuman levels of eating. So.
Kailash's guilty pleasures.
I mean, I can't actually think about, like, if he's not working, he's tinkering. If he's not tinkering, he's listening to something. Like nothing. I mean, I can't think of like a guilty pleasure. Like, by the way, is there something?
I don't think so.
There's nothing. I mean, like.
Okay. A secret about Nithin that not many people know?
Nothing that I can say out loud in front of the camera. There are secrets that the world can never know, but yeah.
Okay. Nithin, what about Kailash? A secret that you know and most world doesn't know?
No, actually, I can't think.
You both are being diplomatic.
No, it's not diplomatic. I mean, I can't really. I mean, one of the things that he and his wife Deepa, they've decided not to have a kid because it's gonna add to the climate problem, which is. I think you need more K's in his world, So and I keep telling, I keep telling him and Deepa that maybe that is something they need to think about. So.
He's become that uncle who's constantly asking.
You have an 8-year-old son, right?
Yeah,
okay. Kailash, one thing that you don't like about Nithin?
If I'm being very honest here, I can't really think of any of those things. Like I said, he is I mean, he's genuinely a really, really good human being. And I'm repeating what I said in the beginning. He's intelligent, he's extremely caring, he never wants to do injustice to anyone in any form. He's very conscious. So there aren't nothing really.
What about you, for Kailash?
No, I mean, that anxiety used to be a problem, but I think he has fixed it significantly because he used to get anxious for small little things. But over the last 1-2 years, I think he's fixed it quite a bit. So apart from that, no. I mean, it's no. But I think we were talking about my problem. I think I have a problem that this whole stoicism has gone up too much. Like I've to the level where I'm feeling like I've become a little cold. This not getting affected is not very easy, right? You have to be. You tend to it becomes like a way of life over a period of time. I mean, you need to get affected by certain things around you, right? As in.
And you want to change that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be like not.
Is it? And I know this is not rapid fire, but maybe we'll. Is it part of growing up? At least I feel that increasingly I don't find things affect me. I can maintain my center, remain anchored. Very few things fluster me the way it used to earlier. And maybe it's part of growing up as well.
No, I usually keep forgetting that I'm 44 years old. So maybe that's what it is. So.
Kailash, one way Nithin has changed in the years that you've known him.
I think when it comes to many of our philosophies, we've actually both changed. My worldview has changed significantly being with him. And I can say that his worldview also has changed being with me. I don't want to pick one particular thing, but the overall philosophies. So, yeah, he's influenced my worldview significantly for the better. And I think his worldview also has changed positively. So, yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he came from the school of thought that all businessmen are bad. So it's just, capitalism is all evil. But today I think he understands that there's another form of capitalism and we are doing it together. Like, funnily, this, in the foundation, there's one person, he came up to me recently and he was telling me, Nithin, until now, I thought all businessmen are bad. After looking at you guys, we're like, there's some hope, he said, So, but I think we've all, not just him and me, I think across, it actually extends across the core team, be it Nikhil, be it Venu, be it Karthik, etc. So we've all influenced each other in some way, for the positive.
Just final 4 questions on each of you. Your favorite product of all time?
Like electronic product?
Yeah.
I think Audible, so.
Audible?
Yeah, because I couldn't ever, I don't know what it was. I was a really bad student in school and I could never read a book, like a physical book. And I thought it's just, something off with me, right? As in, I could read books on trading, but, that was a small little interest. I mean, I think I got introduced to audiobooks and it's just, I keep going back to my mom and saying that, if maybe in school you should have given me audiobooks and not a physical book.
Yeah, I would have aced.
Maybe, you wouldn't have had to, kind of go through all the pain because every year my mom got called to school and said, her son's got a problem. So I think, Audible just because it solved for that problem. So.
Kailash, what about you?
The personal computer. Not any specific brand, but the concept of a personal computer where you could have a computer and you could do things, change the entire world, change me as a person. Yeah.
Newest thing, either in the world of technology, otherwise, that's stoking your curiosity these days or consuming you? I
mean, I've gotten into this whole rabbit hole of optimizing for my health.
Okay.
Right. So there's so much progress happening. There's so many new research reports there. I mean, it's a rabbit hole. I don't know if I should be doing it, but I am. Have a cold shower, then go into sauna,
turmeric water.
So it's just, but there is so much progress. Now I've started. Last 2-3 years I've been using Apple Watch. And then I'm trying to optimize for all the readings and etc. It's I'm consumed by it, but I think I need to. I don't know if it's incrementally helping or not. I mean, there was it did give me better understanding of my body, but I think it's plateaued now, and I'm just stressing too much around this, and
Okay.
but I think around that, I mean, and of course around this whole AI thing, it's more as an outsider looking into it, saying, how will this affect humanity, how will it affect the business, etc. It's just quite crazy, like everything new that is happening there. I'm just trying to right now as an outsider think how will it affect our business, what should we be changing, etc. So that's also a lot of my stoking a lot of curiosity of sorts.
What about you, Kailash? And I'm sure you have some thoughts on technology as well. But what's stoking your mind, your curiosity these days?
I think the AI breakthroughs definitely, and I'm not really referring to the hype, but I'm referring to the engineering that has gone behind it. So when I was in the university doing research in AI, the kind of stuff that we were doing, what was cutting edge in the world and what's happened now just 10, 12 years later is radically different. And I wrote about this, and I titled my blog post, "It feels a little different this time." And that's what I feel. So I use it every day. I use these products every day. I derive immense amounts of value, and I think I've never really used technologies this way. So there's something radically different this time. So this stokes my curiosity and my anxiety in some sense greatly on a daily basis.
One thing, if you could change about Zerodha's journey, what would that be, Nithin?
Nothing. No.
Huh?
Nothing.
What about you, Kailash?
Nothing. That's the fundamental nature of a journey, right? It's not scripted. It's all serendipity, random coincidences, luck, etc. So nothing.
So recently Acquired runs a very popular podcast, and Jensen from NVIDIA.
Which one?
Acquired?
Huh.
I mean, it's one of my favorite podcasts, and Jensen from NVIDIA was there, and he was asked this question, saying, if you have to go back in time, what would he change? And he had a different answer. He said he would never do it again.
He would never do it again?
He said, I would not start an NVIDIA. Because he said, now knowing today, all the happenstances that need to happen, would I, as a sensible person back then, even attempt doing this? Maybe not, he says. And it's actually true, as in, it's just ridiculous, as in, like, how many accidents, how many right place, right time in this journey. Because, forget Zerodha, I'm saying, even if I go back to my 17-year-old self, who's starting to trade the markets, if I had to tell him something which changes a little bit of my journey, probably it would not mean this outcome today, right? And so I mean, I think it's very, like, you can't. I mean, you just have to learn, get better. I don't think you should think about changing anything at all.
Two questions on Bangalore and your favorite hangout place in Bangalore, the city.
I mean, I my home, firstly, because I'm usually, if not in the house, not in the office, I'm usually at home. And we stay in, I've spent most of my time in South Bangalore. And for me, as a South Bangalorean, anything north of South doesn't seem like Bangalore. So I've started with Basangudi, Jayanagar, JP Nagar. I mean, so my whole life has been around here. So I mean, home, but outside home, I like spending time in UB City because parking is easy, right? That's what, I think as Bangalore, we need more ways to be able to spend time. I think this is something that we've been thinking about as well, saying we need to be able to go hang around and,
There are no public avenues. It's something that we've spoken about.
Yeah. Kailash, what about you? What's your favorite hangout place in Bangalore, outside of home?
Where we are, I'm very similar to him. Where we are, we typically hang around there. That we like that. But there's no one place. But we like going out and exploring little food places. So Bangalore has a wealth of tiny food places that do amazing idlis, dosas. So not one particular place where we like hanging out, but exploring these places as a thing, going out in South Bangalore is something that we enjoy. But there's no one specific place where we hang out. Yeah.
You want to talk about your favorite darshini?
I mean, it used to be Adigas for a while.
Okay.
I mean, now the founder of Adigas has made it and started a new one called Kalpa Vruksha, right? So I think usually Sunday mornings I'm doing idlis and dosas from there. So
Kalpraksha.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and the thing is, I think over the last 10 years of Zerodha, right? I mean, last 13 years of Zerodha, the business is so occupied our lives that actually there's no time. I mean, like, there's no time to do other things in Bangalore, in the sense. But when I was younger, I used to go around, eat quite a bit, and spend a lot of time in the city of
And
sorts.
conscious eating also wouldn't help much. I can gather that one. What about you, Kailash? Do you have a favorite darshani here?
So this morning we went to this small place called SN Refreshments in JP Nagar.
Ascent.
SN, the letter
okay.
SN. Karthik has been going there for 25 plus years. He speaks highly of it, and we've started not frequenting it, but going there regularly. And the idli is amazing. Filter coffee is amazing. So we were there this morning, just randomly. So we like SN, idli, and filter coffee very much.
Okay, one last question. What do you like the most about Bangalore, the city that you live in?
The people, I mean, it's just, everything, the weather and all is, I think, is, but I think just the people. As in, like, if I were to think about my neighbors from my childhood here, I think it's just a different vibe to the city in terms of the people here. And I would say that,
Kailash, what about you?
Exactly the same. And again, I think we've spoken about this. Bangalore is unique with the ecosystem of people it has. You pick tech, there are entire passionate communities of tech. You pick knitting, there are knitting communities. You pick baking, there are baking communities. You pick anything, there are communities of people here who are passionate about that, and people from all across. So I think the ecosystem of people and communities, that is what is most unique about Bangalore, really.
Somebody put a term to it, intellectual orgasm. And she talked about the quality and quantity of frequency of intellectual orgasm that you get in this city by simply bumping into similar like-minded people.
Right.
It's almost impossible to get in any other city like Delhi and Bombay. And that is what to her was the highlight of the city.
And it's very hard to replicate Bangalore somewhere else. A lot of cities are trying, but it'll be very hard.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much
Cheers.
for both of you for finding time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.